Everybody, welcome to the European Championship Review Show. I just want to get right into it with Portuguese expert Paula Ferreira Lobo. Listen, all I'm going to say is, and still reigning, defending, undisputed champions of Europe. How good does it feel, my friend?
Pretty good. I won't lie, it's pretty good. But I actually haven't had the time to decompress because I was working during the game. I was watching the game and writing about it, and then I had to go to the press conference and everything. So, yeah, still can't believe it. But yeah, we made it again from losing 2-0. These guys are going to kill us all. But yeah, they never doubted. I was actually before the semifinals. I wasn't that confident, if I'm honest. I was a bit worried about Spain. I was actually expecting a different Spain, and then we started losing. I was like, it's going to be tough, but they made it. So today, I actually send a message to some of my friends. I do a podcast about cycling from Portuguese Cycling Magazine podcast, and I texted the guys on WhatsApp and said, "We are going to win. Like, we are going to win." And we were already losing back then, and they were like, "Are you sure? Okay, if you say so, yes, we are going to win," and we did. So today I was not worried, but in the semifinals, yes. But after watching the way they came back in the semifinals against Spain, and despite the fact that Russia is a pretty good team as well, I thought, no, this guys are going to turn this around somehow, but they will,
You
and they
know what?
did.
Portugal just find a way to win. This now means
Yeah,
32 straight competitive games that Portugal hasn't lost in 40 minutes. And
yeah.
they won the championship in 2018. They won the World Cup last year, and now they win
Mhm.
the European Championship again. And I mean, they just find a way to win, even down 2 goals to Spain. They go two down to Russia, and only one other team in this tournament scored 2 goals against Russia, and that was Ukraine in the semis. Portugal's will, their determination, it simply can't be broken. I mean, this just solidifies Portugal as the top futsal team on the planet today. Undisputed, would you agree?
Yes, I think. I mean, we can't argue with results. It's simple as that. I mean, we haven't lost any game since we lost to Argentina and Iran in Iran in 2016 World Cup. Ever since then, we haven't lost a single game on a competition. We have lost preparation games against Spain, but no game that actually counted for anything. So yes, I think we simply cannot argue against the results Portuguese is showing. And I agree what you said. This winning mentality these guys have now, it took us more than a few years to get this far. We were for so long. We were the national team that never made it. We played well. We had good players, but we could never break that last step. But once we did that, it's going to be tricky to get us fall back again. I'm not saying that it won't happen. Of course, it will. No team wins forever, and you can ask Spanish guys about that, or Brazilians, as we saw in the semifinals of the Copa America. So, but I believe, really believe that that change and in the way they face the game, in the way they believe in themselves, it's absolutely the key to all of this. I actually asked about that to George Brash this last press conference because Portugal won the last three tournaments, so I'm sure everyone can agree that we are doing something right. You can't argue. Once you're lucky, twice you're good, three times you're the best. I really don't know how to put it another way. It's not. diminishing anyone. It's just the pure reality. We were better, so we won, and simple as that. And I think, and he said, there's a lot of key factors here, but sure, as I told you the last time I was on the show, we started to first take notes for those who were better than us. We always, and George Brash talked about it, we always looked a lot to Spain, what they were doing, because they are really, really good. So, and they were winning for so long, and we want to be like those guys. What are they doing that we can learn from? What can we learn from them? And as well as Russia always has strong, really strong team, and we adapt what we could, and we did things our way. And our way was to take advantage to the fact that football is our national sport. So there's a lot of kids growing up kicking balls with their feet. We just have to make some of them redirect their attention from football to futsal, and we have a lot of good kids coming up. I don't think this will end up with Ziki and Tomas Passor generation, although we never know when we are going to get another Ziki, because or another Passor, because they are just simply way, way good. I mean, it's crazy. They are 20, Ziki's 20 and Tomas Passor is 21, and they already won like everything there is to win. They won European Championship for Portugal, World Cup for Portugal. They are European champions for Sporting. So these kids have won it all in such a short time. But these kids also play a key role in showing that futsal is a career path for other kids, and this is important. Actually, our national federation, they did a survey uh, last year, I think, um, measuring the impact the 2018 title had on the number of young boys and girls coming to the sport. um, there was no demonstrable data proving an increase in female futsal, which somehow is normal because there weren't women winning, they were men. But the data strongly showed that title brought so many young kids to futsal, that they saw these guys playing and winning on TV and was like, oh, great. I want to be like those guys. I want to win like those guys. So what I have to do, I have to play futsal. Okay, so I'll look for a team nearby, and there's a lot of teams throughout all Portugal. And this has been key, and since we are uh, continue continue to win, I'm hoping that this will have a similar impact. So I'm pretty confident that we will have more Zikis and Passos in the years to come.
Now, how do you think this is going to affect the Portuguese league's growth and attention? I mean, for years, everyone just looked at the Spanish league, they looked at the
Yeah.
Brazilian league, to a lesser extent, the Russian and Italian leagues. But the Portuguese league, let's be honest, Sporting and Benfica have been super dominant over
Yeah.
years, producing Champions League winners and multiple awards, producing great players. Do you see the growth of the Portuguese league as a result of another championship win for the national team?
I actually think it's the other way around. Um, the investments all the teams are putting, not just in our Liga Placar, but even in inferior divisions, there has been a lot of investment in these past few years, and I believe that has had a positive impact on our national team, because if you have a league where there's so many quality players, no matter if they're Portuguese or Italian like Merlin or Brazilian like Gita, when you have the best playing every week on your championship, those around them are going to improve. They have to improve. I mean, people had to learn to at least try and stop meddling. It's hard, but they try. They have to, right? And this investment uh, has produced is fruits. I mean, you look at let me give you one. You look at Pani. Pani has always been a hard-working and quality player, but ever since he got into sporting and playing and practicing side by side with Merlin, he has improved. You can actually do see him doing some signature moves that we see in Merlin, and he can do them as well as Merlin. And obviously, he learned. Of course, he had to want to learn. Yeah, that's his. Obviously, you can put five guys with the best player in the world. If they don't want to learn, you won't get results. But the thing is, our players and our not just players, coaches, everyone involved in futsal wanted to make it a better league. So everyone is investing a lot to make that happen. I don't think we can compare ourselves to the Spanish league yet because there's a lot of work we still have to do, um, especially in terms of media coverage and everything. But we are getting there. I really believe we are getting there. And I think that's because our teams and our federation allowed to improve some conditions, which is important. And our teams are positively responding to that and investing. But let me say this clearly: Portuguese national team, national league, it's not a professional league. Okay, this is important for people to know. Yes, most of the teams act like if they were a professional team, but they aren't. What does that mean? Benfica, Sporting, and Sporting de Braga, three teams that have also a major football team. They are professionals and they have do everything as a professional. Other teams work as professionals. Some actually have everything from contracts and social security and those things as a professionals, but some don't. We still have in our first league teams that have, I don't know how to explain the fiscal the fiscal system of Portugal because it's a bit complex actually. But some of our players don't have a professional contract with the teams, meaning this obviously doesn't happen. But imagine if you're playing for one of the teams that are not professional, and you gravely injure yourself. If they want to send you away, they can, because you don't have a professional contract signed with them. You get my point? So this is why I say yes, we are improving. This is awesome. I hope this and not this twice champions can bring some more sponsors and everything to the sport. But as I said, we still have a long way to go to be compared with a professional league like the Spanish.
No, it's a great analysis and a really interesting point out there. Everybody wants futsal players, coaches, and referees to get as much money as possible, to make a living full time
But
so
it's
that
not. But the problem is, it's not just coaches and referees and everything. It's about the players. The first part, we are even discussing the part of the players. We are not even starting on the conversation about coaches and let alone referees. Uh, the players. I'm talking about players. Yes, they are improving their income, which is great, and it has to be. But as I said, they are still not making enough because it's different in Portugal. It's different when you have we call it recibos verdes. It's practically like you do a service and you pass an invoice, but you don't have a contract, so you get paid when you are working. So imagine the season, it's 10 months, but the other two you don't get anything. You don't get we have special special months. We have the third and the 14th month is I don't know how to say subsidio. I'm sorry. Wow, just blanked. Whatever. There are the other social incomes that players play any worker has in Portugal that a player if he doesn't have a contract he doesn't get it. So we are still on that point. We are way behind on the conversation about coaches and everything. I'm talking about players in our first league. It's not second division, first league. That's why, and I think some people misunderstand what my colleagues in RTP, our national television, said. They were um, showing the game. They were commenting. Bebe was there, as I told you. And at some point, they said something like, "It's going to be hard for Sporting to secure Zicky," and people, especially Sporting fans, were like, "What? It's the best team in the world!" And okay, yeah, guys, it is. But the conditions, of course, Sporting it's a different reality. They offer really good conditions, but still, we are not talking about the level of wages they made on other leagues, on Russian league, even on Italian league. I'm not in now. Again, I won't even start on Spanish league. And this is a conversation we need to have now, right now.
Now with Zicky, I mean, he was named player of the tournament for those
Yeah.
who didn't pay attention. I guess the UEFA broadcast cut off, so you don't get the post-game analysis, which is why we're here, to fill in that gap, and don't have the production value of UEFA.tv, which did a good job. I really like, by the way, how you can click on a goal or a yellow card or a red card, and the video automatically goes back to that play. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'll have to take your word on that because as RTP had bought the rights, so
You can't watch it.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's good. I like the announcers for Artepe. So, but it
Yeah.
was something where, Zicky got the award, 3 goals, 3 assists in the tournament, which is interesting because he didn't finish in the top list of goal scorers or the
Not
assists.
3 goals, 4.
Is it 4? Yeah, it was weird. UEFA had it listed on their article as only 3. But I sat there, I'm like, well, he scored 2 against Spain. And then in the group stage, he was there too.
Yeah, he scored against Spain 2. He scored
Yeah.
against Ukraine 1, the only goal on that game. And he scored against Serbia, I think. Or the Netherlands, I
thought it
don't
was the
know. But
Netherlands, but it was one of those teams.
it's 4 goals. 4. Yeah.
Yeah, so UEFA, update your website, get your stats ready. That's it.
Yes, yeah.
But it's interesting. I mean, we had so many great players in the game. I mean, and for the award to go to a guy who's 20 years old, I mean, he's picking up awards. He just got young player of the year at the Futsal Awards.
MVP in the last UEFA Champions League.
In the Champions League final. I mean, this kid's on fire, and he was 19 when he won that award too, which was phenomenal. So, I mean, ultimately, with Zicky, do we know when his contract ends with Sporting?
We do. I'm thinking because they renew his contract and Paso. I think it was up to 2024, but I'll have to check that later, and I'll promise I'll check that and tell you. But Sporting is the best team in Portugal working those things. They really start really early in the season preparing the next one. And they know the value they have there in Zicky and Paso. They know because they were the ones who trained them. And it was a few months ago, I think, it was announced that they had renewed their contract. And I think it was up until 2024, but I'll have to check. Or you can just ask Maria. I'm sure she would
She's a
have known.
Sportista. She'll know.
Yeah, she would have known that from the top of her head. But I don't. I'm sorry.
No, it's a good question though, because even let's say he's signed through 2024. I mean, he's the most valuable pivot right now, I think, in terms of marketing, his performance. He already has a World Cup and European Cup, and he's 20 years old again.
Yeah,
I can't emphasize.
He won everything. Makes you think, what are you doing without our own lives?
Yeah, I'm just sitting there going, I'm like, I'm twice this guy's age, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have any awards like that. I have a couple of signed balls above me from Falcao and Pelé, and I'm happy with that. But to have my own award, I'd prefer that instead a little bit. But I mean, if he's signed over for another 2 years, that just tells you, the intelligence of Sporting's process of signing. To have him locked in for 2 years, and he's not even in his prime. This is the weird thing about the Zicky. He's still very raw, natural, athletic. I mean, there was the opportunity today where, he slid with the shot, and the commentator said his left foot was telescopic, and I loved it because he's just very raw. He's very we say lanky. You have very long arms and legs, but he's not tactically perfect yet. He's not reaching the peak of intelligence on the court yet in terms of where he needs to be, and this is scary because when he gets there, and nobody doubts he's going to get there because he's such a wonderful player and he's such a humble human being. I love talking with him. When his game gets to maximum around, I don't know, maybe 25, 26, which is too crazy to think 5-6 years away. Just how good can Zicky possibly get?
I don't think I'm going to gamble on that one because I'm pretty sure he's going to surprise me as well, even though I have really high hope for him. But as they tell me, me and everyone, Zicky is a really humble guy, like you said, and he works really, really hard. So I don't doubt that he will improve. However, I'm not sure if he's going to transform himself in that super killer. I don't believe he has that killer instinct to score a goal. He's going to score a lot of goals, no doubt, and good goals. But I don't think he will ever be like Cardinal, for example. Cardinal is a goal machine maker. I mean, the guy scores from everything everywhere, and it's crazy. But Zicky has something that I don't believe any other pivot in the world has. He has a commitment and an intelligence in the defense process that it's way better than any other pivot I remember watching playing, because he really commits himself to the defense, and he's smarter than most pivots and some wingers as well. So I think he's going to turn out as his own man, not like any other pivot we have seen. He's going to be Zicky, and in a few years we will be comparing others to him, not the other way around.
No question.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, his great work on the goal, the third goal, to give Portugal the lead that Andre Coelho just absolutely finished. It was Zicky. It was such
Started. Yeah.
It was very intelligent movement by him. I was very impressed. And then he made the pass. The replay didn't show it, but I was pretty sure that the final touch. So Zicky passed it off over to the side, and I was pretty sure it was Miguel Angelo.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I thought. So he passed it in. Of course, it was a tap in for Andre Coelho. I mean, Zicky just has an upswing out there. He makes little mistakes. I saw at the World Cup. I'm like, oh, when this kid fixes these little mistakes, he is going to be unstoppable.
Yes, but that's another reason that I don't believe that he's going to leave Sporting anytime soon. I mean, he knows, like the rest of the world, he's been coached by the best there is, by Nuno Dias. So what is he going to do anywhere else? Nothing. He's there. He's learning from the best. He has some of the best players in the world side by side with him. I mean, he shares a locker room with Gita, with Alex Merlin, with Pani, with Eric. What more can a young player like himself want?
Well, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And if
don't
you're winning,
fix it, right?
You're winning everything at club level. You're winning everything at the international level. You're playing with all these superstars that are just excellent in their own right. It's insane to move away. But of course, let's be honest, this is a business, and eventually money's going to talk. And the Zicky, I don't know if he has an agent. I'm pretty sure he does. And if he doesn't, he's going to be courted by every major agent in the world. And, there's going to be money. Japan, Russia, you said, they got the big money. Spain, of course, you have that Barcelona machine, Inter Movistar, El Pozo. Any single team on the planet is going to want this kid. No question about it. So, I mean, he's got such a massive upswing, as we say, big potential. Who else impressed you? I mean, I thought Thomas Passo had a fantastic game. Obviously, scored that first goal. But what was interesting, at least to me, before I get your opinion on who else impressed, both goalkeepers not having a good game.
No.
Yeah,
But to be fair, Andre Souza came back, and he
he
was
calmed
important
down.
in,
He
yeah,
calmed down in that second half. Thank
Andre
you.
Souza's ability to let go. I mean, I made a mistake. Can't undo that, but keep focusing. And after that, he made some important defenses. I think that was key. Putilov couldn't make back, couldn't put himself together again to secure the team, and Andre Souza did that, and that was key for me.
Yeah, that Sokolov first goal, it should have been stopped out there, but
Yeah,
it was something too when they went up, 2-0, and you're sitting there going, oh, I really hope that Andre Souza doesn't have, one of those games that, ruins it for the whole team. But he composed himself, made two
yeah,
really big saves in the second half that
yeah,
could have given Russia the advantage. I really thought Russia, with all these great players, Afanaseyev was fantastic. Abramov is a phenomenal young player. I can watch this kid play, for all 40 minutes. Well, 50 minutes in the Russian league, but
yeah.
he's just a brilliant player. Who impressed you from Russia the most, not just in this game but throughout the tournament?
Well, I'm a bit suspicious because I already tweeted a few months ago that I'm a big fan of Sokolov. And I think this tournament showed how good he is. And let us remember, he's only 22 years old as well. So we are here 26 minutes into this web show, and we are talking about kids that we are going to be able to see playing for years and years to come. And this is great. Um, but Sokolov really, really impressed me. I think he did a tournament that showed that he's going to be the future, one of the future players for Russia, and that Russia has his future secured, which is important. Another player that I think did the same similar path was Miguel Melado from Spain,
Great
and of
tournament.
course, yeah, and of course, Tomas Pasov. I mean, I already knew how good he is because I watch him play every week, but the rest of the world doesn't. And because of Zicky, that is such a phenomenal player, people are always looking to Zicky, and sometimes we forget a bit about Tomas Pasov, that is from is 1 year older, just 1 year older. We are. I was talking with a few of my colleagues during the game, and they were joking that Tomas Pasov, oh, that guy is old, like because he's 1 year older than Zicky, so that guy is old. But he isn't. I mean, he's 21 years old, and like Zicky, he has won everything. And I think this was the tournament, and where he showed the same thing he has been showing in Sporting, that he's a world class defender, that he has a great kick, better than I think I have never seen Tomas uh, taking so many shots and scoring like now. So Tomas, it's not impressed me because again I expected great things from him, but I think this was the tournament where he made himself, a world class player for me.
No question. And I mean, for me, I think a real big shout out has to go to Artem Antoshkin from Russia, who came
Yeah,
in with 5 goals and 5 assists and just seemed to be at the right place at the right time every single time. I thought he
yeah,
had a
that guy is
phenomenal
huge,
tournament.
really.
We talk about Zicky being a big
Yeah,
guy. I mean,
yeah,
Antoshkin has this this
yeah.
this monster look to him, and not a lot of people really knew about him. I obviously knew the name, but never really looked too much deep into his career. And it's you start watching this tournament, and then you go back and see some of his stuff, and say, okay, this guy is serious business. And I mean, obviously, playing with Benfica, Ivan Chishkala, he also had 5 goals too, and I'm pretty sure Sokolov had 5 goals. So you have 3 Russians with 5 goals apiece. I mean, that's
Probably.
pretty impressive stuff out there.
Yeah,
And I had to feel bad for Putilov in net, with one of his goals, because he's a very underrated international goalkeeper. I mean, he was in the Futsal Awards, I think the top 10, but I
yeah,
just remember watching him at the World Cup. He's not the kind of goalkeeper that's called upon very much. But when he is, he's there to stop, and he does a great job. So I was
Yeah, he
impressed.
was he was the hero, securing Russia's spot in the final. Let's remember, he defended a penalty in the entering the last minute. He made two or three super important defense against Ukraine. So, but yeah, but today wasn't his day
It
at
was
all.
absolutely massive against the Ukraine. That game, that semifinal game, was
Yeah.
crazy. And then I didn't think Spain and Portugal could top it, but I mean, they did a pretty good job getting close to it with the suspense at the end. It was like a Netflix movie where you're just trying to figure it out, and then at the end,
Yeah.
final goal in the last minute. Now, let me ask. The last pretty much attempt by Russia, where it was 3-2 for Portugal, and the shot comes, and Andre Souza sits on the ball, so his butt just sits at the back, and I'm just going, is it going to cross the line? And you just sit there and you catch your breath. It was almost like one of those heart attack moments. What was your what
Yeah.
was your reaction when you saw that last attempt?
Uh, as I'm going to tell you what I told Andre Coelho in the press conference. Please, next time, make it easier on yourselves, because we are all going to die of an heart attack. It's the, it's crazy. It's just crazy. But then it's like I said in the beginning. These guys believe so much in themselves, in what they are doing in their process, that uh, you have we turned the luck of the game towards us, because we believed more than Russia, as well as we believed way more than Spain in the semifinals. You, of course, you have to have the luck of the game, but if you remember, for example, in the semifinals, Spain was having the luck of the game. I mean, they went on halftime winning 2-0, and nobody can actually explains how so many balls didn't got in. I mean, it was crazy, especially in the last few minutes of the first half. It was crazy how Portugal just couldn't score. Everything was going against us, but we believed more than them, way more than them, and we looked for the goal way more than them, and that's how the luck turned around, and they turned around the luck again on the against Russia. And yes, maybe some futsal god protect Portugal on that defense, but it's like I said, André Souza had the presence of mind to put his mindset back on the game and focusing on the game, and what his important role, goalkeeper is super important in futsal, in every sport, but in futsal especially. So he managed to put himself back together, and to be an important another time, to be important again, and he saved all that Russia could could throw his way.
Yeah, and Russia seemed to have almost twice as many attempts as Portugal, but the tenacity was insane. I mean, we talked about Andre Souza already, but Portugal came back from 2-0 down in the semifinal,
Yeah.
and they became the first team to come back 2-0 down in the championship match of the European title. So let me ask you, you followed the press conference.
Mhm.
Did anything special was said, or was there something, something revealed about the training, or, the tenacity of the team? What was the most interesting part of the press conference to you?
Actually, the press conference was pretty short, because
No
there was
surprise.
just no, there was just actually there was just me there, and and a guy from UEFA.
You're kidding me.
I wish, but I would,
Wow.
but it's not. But to be fair, there's some Portuguese media that flew to Amsterdam,
Good, good.
so they talked to Jorge Braz and to a lot of players there before they came into the press conference, and we already had heard a lot of what they were saying, and I thought, I'm not going to ask him again what everybody has been asking for the last half hour. So the guy from UEFA asked for a comment on the game, obviously, asked about Zicky, obviously, and then I asked them about this success story of Portugal, and what other teams, other national teams can take away from Portuguese success. So it wasn't your regular press conference. But about that, George Braz said what he says, what he's been saying since, I don't know, since I remember him being a national coach. He strongly believes in the way he does things and in the way he trains his players to do things.
Well, it
And
works.
yeah, it's true. But he said a funny thing. He said about the process. He said something like, "It's going to be a loose translation, but something like." And remember that I was the lunatic talking about the process and talking about qualifications, and it's true because we actually have a mem page that was always kidding about that, the process and the process and the process that George Braz was always talking about. But the thing is, he did all that process on all that path, and of course, he wasn't winning, so people were making fun of that, making, okay, you talk about the process, but you never win anything. And now that he has, and he has 3 times in a row, I think it's time for all of us to give it up to him, because he was right about the process. It was this process, and now they believe so much in that process, and all the players believe so much in him and don't question. He says, even may make no sense at the first. It doesn't matter. If George Braz says it's the way, it is the way. So we are going to do like he said, and it gets results. So, like, it's hard to explain that, because it's really a matter of believing in the work you do. Of course, there's a lot of work, and the staff working with George Braz is massive. Is growing year by year. We have so many coaches and people specialized in different areas, from nutrition, special cooker, but we have also a lot of relations with academia. One of the members of George Braz team, Bruno Travassos, he's a professor in one of our universities, specialized in futsal. And so all of these count, all of these details. Portugal puts a lot of efforts in those details that decide games.
Yeah, I mean, you have to evolve, with nutrition, the science of sport, and I'm a very big fan of it. We had just the other day we had the David Tapia Owens, who's really big in statistics on the show, and he runs the with his brother On the Court magazine, and he was talking about, this is the tournament of left-footed goals and set pieces in particular, and he's never seen the previous tournament with as many. So I like little things like that, and I'm really curious to get to George on the show when everything's set and he's finished with the celebrations, over back in Portugal, and talk to him about the most valuable components that people don't see off of the court out there. So it's going to be intriguing to see how that's there. Now, let me ask you. I mean, we talked about the winning the championships. This is the first team in European Championship history, other than Spain, of course, to repeat and win. So now with the European Cup going every 4 years as opposed to every 2, what's the next step for the Portuguese national team leading up to 2024's World Cup? Is it just exhibition games, smaller tournaments, for nation events? Where do you see the preparations and the goals for the team for the next 2 years?
Well, we have a qualification round in April, I think. I think it's in April. But yes, they will probably do a lot of preparation games, especially because next season our primary league is going to have just 12 teams. We have 14 right now. We
Mhm.
are going to downsize it to 12, so there's more room for stopping the championship and work on as a national team level. So yeah, and especially, and George Braz talks about it a lot. Um, and I expect we will have friendly games with national teams that most of us have never seen, even seen playing, because George Braz is always focusing on that point, because futsal is evolving all around the world, and we must prepare to defeat not just European teams, which we are more used to playing against, and we know more of them because it, because of the proximity, obviously, and we know more about their leagues, so we know more about their national teams. But we need to start paying attention to what has been done in the other side of the world, because those teams are reaching the World Cup as well, and we need to be prepared to play against them, because they play differently than we do, and that's not a bad thing. It's just different, but we have to get to know them in order to beat them, because otherwise we can be surprised, and being surprised in the game on a group phase or something, uh, it's tricky to be a champion when you get surprised like that.
Yeah, and I mean, you talked about facing international competition, and I mean, it's funny because we didn't have a lot of futsal for a while until the World Cup because of the COVID restrictions,
Hmm.
but now in this these last 2 weeks, we had not even just the European Championship, but we also had the Copa America.
Yeah,
Argentina beating Brazil on penalties
that was the
yesterday.
only game I was able to watch
Yeah,
from the beginning to the end.
well, while we were talking, Argentina actually won the championship. They beat Paraguay in the
Okay,
final, and so it shows that
congratulations to Argentina.
yeah, it was great, and I have to say it's a little sad because Argentina, they're such a phenomenal team. I mean, they were
Yeah,
favored to win the last World Cup. They were
sorry,
so good.
not sorry.
Sorry, hey, sorry, not sorry. I
Sorry,
love
not
it. I
sorry.
love it. And it's funny because actually tomorrow my guest is going to be from Passion Futsal, Patricio Nat, who's I
Hmm.
call him El Profesor because he is an encyclopedia in the way he talks. Well, back in 1998, in this one match, in minute 32, and I'm just like, how do you know these things? You're so good,
Yeah, do
man.
you remember?
He's so good. That's my number one rule for the show. If you come on the show, you have to be smarter than me. It's not a high bar to jump over. This is a good thing for all the
Don't
guests.
sell yourself short. Come
Hey,
on,
I,
Chris.
I think I'm pretty fun and passionate about the sport, and I'll be honest, I've been the luckiest man in futsal. Just to have the great guests out here, and you're actually the first guest that's appeared twice out there,
Ha,
and there's
I'm
a reason
honored.
for it.
Thank you.
Absolutely, you're fantastic out there. Even my mom, she's like, what is it like, to have a girl that knows more about futsal than you? And I'm like, what do you what women can't know about futsal? What's wrong with you? You kidding me? I'm like, I don't just have one. We had two great ones this week out there.
Yeah.
So I love everything that you guys do over at Zero Zero and the 5x4 podcast, obviously. When's the next episode of that coming out, by the way?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow
Tomorrow?
morning. So I'll be repeating some things I said here, but in Portuguese. So it's going to be easier.
Good. Well, I'm going to have to listen to it because I want to work on my Portuguese. I promised George back at the World Cup, I'm like, give me 3 years, I'm going to speak. He's like, okay, we'll see what's up. And then same with Tiago over at the Federation. So, I mean, before, moving on, I guess with Argentina, there was a couple of big retirements, today.
Hmm.
It's nice to see Argentina go out on a winning note, particularly from Cuzzolino and Taborda, who are both a huge part of that team. But
Yeah.
now, Coach Matias over in Argentina is getting ready for this next cycle. And kind of like Portugal, they have a lot of youth players that are just waiting to take these spots and prove themselves. And I think it's safe to say that Portugal and Argentina are probably number one and two in the world, not just because of the titles, but they went the distance over in Lithuania, and they're just. I would love to see them play again, even for exhibitions. I'd love to go see the Portuguese team in Buenos Aires. I'd love the Argentina team to fly over to Lisbon, and if they did, I would fly again over there, to see what's happening. But another major retirement that happened today was after the third place match. For those who were following, Spain beat the Ukraine 4-1. And after 215 appearances for the Spanish national team, Captain Carlos Ortiz retires. What can you tell us about the significance of this brilliant defender?
I mean, Carlos Ortiz was like the reference when we were thinking about a defense in futsal. I mean, obviously, I don't know if it was the same way all around the world, but it was obviously in Portugal because we are neighbors to Spain, so we watch a lot of their games, and we play a lot of games against them and at the national team level. So we we got used to watching Carlos Ortiz play, and it's going to be weird. Actually, it's going to be weird to watch Spain without Carlos Ortiz. But uh, I'm not going to say I'm sorry because he couldn't retire with the title. Because, well, sorry, not sorry. Once again, it is what it is. But I think he is going to be one of the great reference of the sport for forever. Actually, he was such a great player, and he was such a gentleman. And the way he talked, he tweeted, and I think he posted on Instagram too about the defeat Spain against Portugal, the how humble and serious he was, and that is the kind of examples we need from players. So Carlos Ortiz will be missed on that level, but
Yeah.
I believe he's going to keep involved in the sport. I hope so, because the players and former players like him always bring something to the sport.
Well, I mean, 37 years old now. It's time for a next generation. But he has obvious connections with Barcelona, and that
Yeah,
club has been notorious for keeping past players and people involved in the club. But you can bet that some country out there is going to look and say, you know what, when you're ready to coach, we're ready to give you an opportunity because 37. I mean, Matias in Argentina, he's still in his 30s. I mean, there's a lot of young coaches out there,
yeah,
and Ortiz. To think that you know you had 215 games with Spain. It's one thing to play 215 matches with a national team. If you play 200 games with Canada, yeah, you can understand that. But to play with Spain, you know what I mean? It's an unbelievable talent to be able to play that many games with one of the greatest futsal teams in history. So
yeah.
it shows you that this guy is one of the all-time greats. I don't think there's a futsal Hall of Fame,
Absolutely.
but I think we need to maybe create one. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, if it, yeah, I agree.
You
Go
know what?
ahead,
We're
Chris.
gonna we're gonna do it. And you know what? You're
Yeah,
getting
we're
you're
going.
getting a vote. You're getting a vote. Okay? You're gonna be a director. That's right. You heard it right here on Inside Futsal. Paula Ferreira Lobo, the new
Okay.
futsal Hall of Fame. She's the voter. I gotta go trademark this off the internet as soon as we're done. I gotta
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, rush.
Luke and Meek were like, no, we're doing it right now. We're doing it. We're gonna beat you. And I'm like, all right. So I'll give it to them as long as they give you women the vote out there. I want to see it out there. It was
Yeah, I
by the
agree.
way, how great was that thread on Twitter? It came out of nowhere from our show, and it was we need more
Yeah.
women voters. And then
No, I actually want to thank you and Valerie for talking about that, because it wasn't just. It's one thing that you talk with me or you talk with Maria about that, because obviously we are women, but two men talking about that, it's important because you guys get a seat and you have to open the door for us. There's no other way to do that. So when Valeria started to suggest some accounts, and I was like, there's accounts I don't know, obviously. So I want to know. I want to get to know more of female journalists or content creators about futsal. Okay, I'll ask people who knows to tag them along. And the last time I counted was 16. There are 16 women on that thread. So no
it,
excuse,
I
Futsal
loved it.
Planet.
No, I love
No
it.
excuse.
I know they're going to do it. I know Luke is a huge fan of female futsal, but I want to see it, and I guarantee it's going to happen. I don't use the word guarantee a lot, but this one I guarantee he's going to
Okay.
support. I know Miko will support.
I'm going
And then
to hold you on that, just so
I'm
you know.
well, if I lose, there's a nice bottle of wine from Niagara with your name on it. All right, it's you guys will be okay. But I want you to have that vote. I think it's important, and I mean, you just know so much about
It's
futsal.
not just me. The point is that
I
my
know, but
point
you're on the
was,
show, and I'm
it's
trying to
not
give you the
just me.
respect.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but my point was precisely that it's not just me. There's so many. Some of the women I already knew, I already follow, but others I didn't, and I had the chance to do a bit of scroll on their Twitter, and they are doing fantastic work and super active and creating meaningful content about futsal, and we need more people creating and posting meaningful content about futsal if we want to grow the sport, as I believe we all do. So
Absolutely. I
let's
did
do
it.
it.
I didn't know a lot of the girls on the list, and this is why Twitter. I mean, I hate Twitter in general. It's just a terrible place in the world. But for futsal, Valerio said it's like the one place where we can all go and talk about the sport.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was discovering, obviously, I discovered you on there. I discovered Maria. I discovered Flavia Dominguez over in
Yeah.
Brazil. And
Brazil.
there's like a whole list of people I had no idea who existed. I'm like, this is the beauty of Twitter is the interaction and the connection. And now I'm going to try and get some of these other women on the show because I want to know what's going on in Brazil. I want to know what's going on in Russian futsal. I mean, Anka used to do futsal stuff in Poland. I told her, I said, hey, if your English is, better than my Polish, why don't you come on the show and let's have some fun with it? Because my Polish is very extremely limited out there. I know my Portuguese and that's about it. So, nobody wants to hear me speak Portuguese or Polish. That is for sure. Now, let me ask, we talked about Ortiz and the retirement. I mean, what's next? Anything else you want to get off? I mean, Andre Coelho with the 2 goals. You said you talked with a Portuguese futsal ref, an elite ref. Tell us about that quickly.
Yeah, because as you know, he was. I don't know the technical term in English for reposição lateral, but he was putting the ball back on the game from the line. And if Putilov hadn't touched the ball, he wouldn't count as a goal because you can't score directly. Okay, we all agree with this is the rule.
Mm-hmm.
So when that ball got in, I thought, okay, this is a known goal because if Putilov hadn't touched that ball, even if it got in, it wouldn't count. So it's a known goal. But everyone else in the world gave the goal to Andre Coelho, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm in the wrong. Maybe there's some specific in the rule that I don't know about. So I'm going to ask a guy who knows. I mean, Antonio Cardoso was voted the best referee back in 2007. He's not active, but he's working with Portuguese Federation, training other referees and training coaches and other agents of the sport to better understand the rules.
Excellent. And to keep those old referees in the game to mentor the next generation. So I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah. So I called him and I was like, I'm sorry to bother you at this late hour, and it's a Sunday, but please help me out here. And he explained that as it's not the referee's job to say who scored. The referee's job is to assess if the goal was legal. That goal was legal, and there's no doubt about it. But like he said, you cannot give it to Andre Coelho, or you can give it the own goal to Putilov. There's really nothing in the rule that says one thing or the other. But the goal was legal. Yes, it's true. You are right when you say that if Putilov hadn't touched and the ball got in, it wouldn't count. But you can score, give that goal to Andre Coelho if you want. It's like, okay, I didn't, but because my understanding of the rule was like, okay, the ball touched Putilov. If it was any other Russian player, it would be a known goal. Just because it was the goalkeeper, it's not a known goal. Well, I don't know, but I'm just glad it got in. It counted for Portugal, so it's okay.
You take him any way you can get him. And Putilov, you saw the look on his face. He looked up. He said, "Oh my God, I can't believe that happened." And I mean, I played goalie in ice hockey over here for many, many years. I played a season or two while my knees were still good.
You're a Canadian guy. So.
This is how we do. We're crazy people, So the crazy people are always the goalkeepers. And I'll tell you, it's the ultimate reaction is when the ball's coming at you is to stop it no matter what. You're not thinking, let it go in.
I understand that.
So it's interesting, that they could give it either way. Because I mean, let's say he found someone at the far post and it went in. Do they give Coelho the assist? It's like, well, you have to figure, right? They would do it. So I think it's better to give the statistic to the player as opposed to own goal. Nobody likes seeing that on the statistic sheet.
Okay. I'm sorry, Putilov. I'll change back to Andre Coelho, which is a great guy, by the way. So that's okay.
Yeah, he had a great tournament out there. So, I mean, it's been really fantastic.
That I don't agree.
You don't think so?
No.
I don't know. Why do you think that?
No, I think he did a fantastic second half this game. But I've known Andre Coelho for so many years, and I know he can play on a better level, but I don't want to be unfair to him because he had COVID right before the
Absolutely.
start of the game, and you could see that for the first games he was just entering a few minutes because obviously he just had COVID.
He had to get those
Um,
lungs back, get healthy, feel better, and
yes,
it's
yes,
remarkable how quick he came back from that.
yeah, I think it's remarkable, but I know that Andre is even better than he showed. Really, that's why he plays in Barcelona, obviously.
Yeah. And it was good. He got better as the tournament went along because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
fitness was coming in. There's no
yeah,
question about it.
yeah.
So
You could see. I mean, I think he was. He didn't have any symptoms. I think he was asymptomatic, but it's COVID. It's a serious disease and affects your lungs. And when you're a top player, you kind of need them. But as I told you, I don't. I won't say that he. Oh my God, he did an horrible tournament. It's not that obviously, but I don't think it was the best tournament of Andre Coelho. I think he was better in the World Cup, and again because of COVID, I don't have the slightest doubt about that.
well, the thing is, I mean, you're 100% Portuguese. I'm half because of my mother's side of the family. So I don't care if he had, 5 games that were absolutely horrible. He
Yeah,
got
he
two,
scored when
two,
it mattered.
he
So
scored when it
yeah,
mattered and brought another title to Portugal. So Andre Coelho, muito obrigado, irmão. Thank you very much for
thanks,
that. It's a good
Mr.
one.
Engineer,
I like
because
how you
Andre
said,
Coelho.
I
Andre
like,
Coelho is an engineer. So if people don't know, he's a structural engineer. Has a master's degree on that.
it's incredible stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
To be an engineer and you're a futsal player over there, it's remarkable. Now
yeah,
he's got all these titles. It's nuts. Well, just closing up shop. I told everyone this would not. I said what we're going to do half an hour, but you're always
yes, you
so
did.
fun to talk to
I'm
that it
sorry.
just no. You
I'm
kidding me?
sorry. I'm distracting you.
No, not at all. This is great. I just sat there. I'm like, you know what? Let's make it 30 minutes so it's easy for people to digest. But you always
Yeah,
bring such insight. I mean, you just told us that Coelho was, the master, master degree in engineering out there,
yeah.
and it's little things like this that get fans and other futsal workers, builders, coaches, players to understand the stars in the game and attach themselves to these players and learn something new about them. I love that. That's why I
No,
started
it's
the
just
show.
no. I agree, and it's in this particular case, it's not just to learn something, some trivia about a player. Is that it shows how smart he is. I mean, he's a master. He has a master's in engineer, for God's sake, and it actually you can understand that on the pitch because he's really smart at reading the game. I think he's one of the best reading the game, and that's why he's super smart. And for quite some time, where he was still playing in Braga, he was finishing his master's degree, working on the structural engineer in University of Minho lab for 8 hours a day. Then he came to practice and played on the weekends, and he still managed to finish his master thesis in time with super grade. And then he got transferred to Benfica and then to Barcelona. So yeah, it's a really successful story. He actually speaks very good English, so you can invite him to the show too.
I think I got to do it. Actually, Bebe messaged me 2 days ago, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to come on the show." And the last time I saw Bebe was right after he won the World Cup, and I was just shocked at how great his English was. And he's super humble, super nice. So now, if
You know
Andre
that most
Coelho
of our
speaks,
players have um, a degree, a bachelor's degree or something like that, and most of us in Portugal actually speak pretty decent English. So I don't believe you will have any trouble to have some Portuguese players here, just
well, I
as long
gotta.
as they have the time.
Hey, no,
And
if
Bebe
any,
is super busy, so it's great he wants to come because he really needs to make some time.
well, I love it. I need more players on the show. I mean, we got the
Yeah.
Tomas Strahovski reach out, Bebe reached out, and we're gonna get some more on the show. And if Andre Coelho wants to come on, I mean, the invitation's open. And in the meantime, I said you got the 5x4 podcast coming up tomorrow for
Yeah.
all of those who are interested. How long is the show going to be?
We usually do 45 to 50 minutes.
Not
And
happening.
no, yeah, it is because Igor, the guy, the moderator, he's
Yeah.
pretty strict and pretty good at managing our time.
Yeah.
It's a talent
Well,
actually.
it's a talent, but over here, there's no time limit for us. But I like the hour. The hour is going to be the sweet spot for us. Tell everybody where they can find you and your wonderful, wonderful work at ZeroZero.pt. Tell us everything.
So you can find me and ZeroZero in on Twitter, obviously. We You can follow all of our work, I'm sorry, on ZeroZero.pt. Actually, if you're interested in following the Portuguese league, it's actually pretty easy because we do a live coverage of all games. Actually, yesterday, Saturday, there were two matches. They were postponed due to COVID. So the teams agreed to play yesterday. Actually, if you give me a minute and allow me to share my screen, I can actually explain how easy, even for
Oh,
people that doesn't know a single word in Portuguese, to understand what is going on.
I love it.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, because now that I'm here, and I only it's going to take only a minute to.
Now look it
Okay.
up, and for those people who are listening on Spotify, the show Inside Futsal is available on YouTube. I know most people want to listen as opposed to watch, but it is available on YouTube at Inside Futsal. I don't want to be one of those people that say click and subscribe and like, but please subscribe. It always helps and moves more futsal content to the
Are
top.
you watching my screen?
Yeah. Now let's
Okay.
see. I can add to the stream. There we go.
Okay. So these were the two games that happened yesterday. I'm going to open this one because there were no. Actually, I'm going to open this one because there were more things happening, more different things happening. So you go to ZeroZero.pt and you find yourself on the link to this part to where we do the live coverage. And as you can see, you have
Look
the
how
starting.
detailed this is. And it's
Yeah.
so attractive. You have the court on there, the full rosters, the
Yeah.
yellow cards, every moment. For those listening on Spotify and they can't see the screen, I urge you to go to the YouTube channel, not because I want views. I don't care about that. It's
I'm
it's
watching.
more to see what Paula's doing here with
Yeah,
zero
I'm
zero.
going to log out because this is my view.
It's such an attractive site for futsal. I mean, the photos, the layout, it's clean, it's easy, but it's super detailed. And I'm not saying this, because you're my friend and you're on the show. I just genuinely mean this as a futsal and sports fan. That, if you want to know information, you're new to futsal, or you're a complete futsal addict, someone obsessed with the sport like us, you're going to love this. I mean, I'm watching it on the screen right now. If you go to, for the English speakers, ZeroZero.pt, but it's
Yeah,
ZeroZero.
yeah.
It's fantastic. Like I'm watching this, and
So
it's incredible.
as we are a database on the Zero Zero was born as a database for football, and we have a complete. You can see here 50% victories, two official games. If you click here, you have the detailed history between the two teams, and we start living. Da da da. This is context before the game starts. See, I think this is a watch. This everyone
Blow
I
the
think
whistle.
can
Yep.
understand that. Okay, it's starting. Yellow card. You don't know that here says yellow card in Portuguese, but you can see yellow card. You have the name of the player. You have how many yellow cards he has seen in how many games. You have the picture of the player. These are false. I mean, there's a whistle. You can understand. This is the initials of the teams. I mean, it was Quinta dos Lombos against Nonalvers. It was actually a surprising turnout because Quinta dos Lombos is fighting for top places, and Nonalvers is actually the last team on the championship. And you can see the difference here. Here is the minute, and you can see the difference. Here it was a smaller opportunity, and this is a big opportunity, meaning this was more dangerous. And you see the name of the team and the name of the player. Of course, you cannot understand that here says that he missed um, he missed the shot
The attempt.
after a counterattack, but you can understand from context. See here, the
Well,
same thing was a
Well, let me ask for people just listening to what she's describing and showing. Again, you can see this on the YouTube channel, or even better yet,
Yeah.
you just go to ZeroZero.pt to watch it. It's like an improved version of Livescore specifically for futsal. And
Yeah.
even Livescore doesn't have the images of the players out there, which is I've always been talking about building and branding superstars, and that's what you guys are doing in the very subtle way with this. So it's like a Livescore for
Yeah.
futsal, and the
It is
details
a
are.
live score actually,
This is
because we
insane.
do
It's so
this
good.
for football, we do this for hockey on rollerblades and handball and everything. So, and we have this version for futsal. You know, the timeouts. Like I'm saying, this is opinion. It's just our journalist on the sports hall contextualizing everything that's happening. Goals. It's pretty easy to understand.
Well, let me
Uh,
ask one question. If you were to click on Google Translate, would it translate the info on the page? I mean, probably wouldn't be perfect, but it's pretty easy to just see the images and have an understanding of what's happening in the match. But if people really wanted to read the words, do you think the Google Translate would work to put it for English speakers, or
let's
to
try.
yeah,
We are here,
we're
so
learning. There we go.
yeah. Um,
Because if you translated the page, I'm
oops,
wondering if it would
sorry.
come up. No, don't worry about it. This
Appears alone
is
in the goalkeeper's face, but fails to beat Kelvin. Yeah,
it's
yeah,
accurate. That's it.
yeah. It's
So
accurate.
yeah, so for people using Google Chrome, in particular, I know some people are Firefox, some people are on Internet Explorer and other browsers. With Google Chrome, I know you can click the three dots in the top right corner and click Translate, and it'll translate the page out there. So anyone who's an English, futsal listener, you have to go to this website. I mean, if you want to know about the Portuguese league, this is you just this is insane good, really
No,
good
I
stuff.
think actually we our designers put a lot of efforts here, and I think
Oh yeah.
they did a really good job. Because look at here, it's a goal. Who assisted? It's when they are using flying keeper.
Look at the images. It's nuts. It's great.
Yeah,
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it.
there's a
People need to visit.
penalty when it's the referee grants a penalty. In this case, the guy failed, missed the penalty. So, see,
The ball crossed out. I love it.
yeah,
It's like the live
yeah,
score out here. Now, is this Zero
yeah, yeah.
Zero just in Portugal, or did they have an Italian version and other kind of country versions?
We have other versions, but at the moment, only for football. We haven't
Okay.
actually have an English version, but only for football. Now, just right about now, yeah,
Well, I think the Italian Federation and maybe the Spanish Federation, all the other ones, maybe they need to look at the Zero Zero and say,
yeah,
"Hey, we like what you did in Portugal. I love what I'm seeing." And maybe what they need to do is take a look at bringing your team in together to doing that, because that is exactly what I wanted to see for futsal. Because everyone
yeah,
goes to different live score websites to see what happened in every football tournament, and maybe they'll have a European championship where they have like, here's who scored, here's the yellow card, but not to the detail, the
yeah,
fine detail and graphics that you
yeah.
guys have. That's
Yeah,
impressive stuff.
that's that. We put, as I said, we put a lot of effort. As so, in 1 minute explaining my background, I actually started working in futsal. Actually, in Braga, I was communications director for Sporting Clube de Braga, the club where Tiago Brito, Fábio Cílio from Portugal, or Elisandro from Georgia, and Paula, a former Spanish international, they play there. So I started there. Then I moved on to a website called Futsal Global, and I was there for like 7 years. And Zero Zero actually bought the website, was a specialized media in futsal, was the best specialized media in futsal in Portugal. And it was founded by André Borges, that now is a coach in Differdange in Luxembourg. And he's actually the mentor and one of the Portuguese people that most deserves this title, because he worked a lot when futsal was not even that recognized. He was already doing these live scores, um, and I learned a lot from him. And when he decided to go to Luxembourg, and we he negotiated with Zero Zero. Zero Zero bought the project and the team. Obviously, that's how I came to manage the team, because of my experience in Futsal Global. And ZeroZero already had this kind of graphic information for football and hockey and rollerblades and handball. So it was a matter of working together with our designers and our web developers to design a thing for just for futsal. So, and we have been improving that for the last years, and now it's more complete product that you see here. And we, as I told you, we do a live coverage of all games of our national league. We do the live coverage of all the final eight of Taça da Liga, our League Cup and Portuguese Cup, and the final four of female Portuguese Cup and Liga Cup. And we do some lives of female games like yesterday, because we had a really important game discussing the leadership of our female championship. So we do some of them too. We want to do more on the female side, but step by step.
I love it. You're everywhere. You know what I mean? You started a club, you got the journalism down, and you're going to get that vote next year. I don't care what happens. We're going to have to make it happen. People got to find you on Twitter.
I'm going to make an hashtag of it. I want Futsal Planet. I want a vote.
Let me send an email to Luca first before he's like, "What are you doing? What are you causing me trouble for?" You know, he's very pro female futsal, but I think this is the next big step, is to get the votes out there, and then hopefully later this year, hopefully FIFA finally announces this Futsal World Cup for women. They have to make it happen.
Yeah, for sure.
It's in demand. You're missing.
I remember
50%
writing an article about that in 2013, and I remember Alba, the Spanish, she was back then she was already talking about that. She was leading actually the process on that, and so many, almost 10 years later, we are still talking about this. This is insane.
No, it's got to be done. I think the Guardian wrote a great article about it. They were calling it discriminatory. I mean, I think there's a lack of belief that there might be enough quality teams from every confederation. But not for me. I mean, I know we have the talent.
But even if they believe that, they just do like UEFA did, smaller tournament. You have
16 teams.
A final four, instead of having a group stage and then knockouts like you have in the male side. We are starting with the final four. Okay, do something like that for start, but we have to start somewhere, and we have to start today. Otherwise, in 10 years, the sport won't be good enough for them as well, because there's no competition. So how we are girls supposed to improve if there's no competition?
Well, I think Canada, it'll help us tremendously, because there's very minimal funding. There's, not a lot of investment in futsal. And our women are the Olympic football champions. You know what I mean? We're the gold medalists. We're the champions of the world in this regard. And I know we have futsal talent here. And I think within 18 months to 24 months, if they announce the Futsal World Cup for women, I'm convinced in 2 years, Canada's going to be a top 20 team in international futsal for women, 100%. The Americans, if they did it, same thing, because they have all this talent. And, like you said, it was, taking not necessarily footballers to play futsal, because I'm not really a big fan of that, but getting people who are in the pathway, saying, well, maybe I don't play professional football, I play professional futsal. So we have to get these opportunities and these pathways to succeed. And Australia would do it. They would be good. They have great women's programs. Right now it's, Brazil, Portugal, Spain, Argentina, Russia, Ukraine, obviously, being in the semis. It was interesting. The four finalists for the men's Euro are the four finalist countries for the women's as well. So let me ask you, I think I asked you maybe last one, but after a late night and a few celebrations today after Portugal winning, you're going to be over in Gondomar near Porto for the women's?
I will be at the final probably, and the semifinals. I think it's going to be a colleague of mine, but ZeroZero will be there. I'm not sure if it's going to be me, but ZeroZero will be there for sure.
Well, perfect. Well, I'll definitely bring something up for you up in Porto. I'm going to be there for a good 8 days. I'm going to be in Madrid to go see El Pozo versus Inter Movistar. Got to message a couple of other people at the Spanish Federation, have some fun, and then see El Clásico with Barcelona and Real Madrid. Before coming back, I'm going to be able to see Braga versus Benfica in Braga. And if I'm lucky, in the same day, I'll drive the 45 minutes that it takes from Braga to Porto to see Porto versus Santa Clara, which is my club from back in the islands. So, if I can pull that off, is going to be the ultimate trip for me. So, beyond that, my friend Paula Ferreira Lobo, you heard of Leonardo DiCaprio with the Wolf of Wall Street. She's the Wolf of Futsal. All right. Lobo means wolf. Yeah, I know you like that one. That's your new nickname. I'm giving everyone nicknames.
Yeah.
They're good nicknames.
No,
They're
I'm a huge fan of Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm a huge fan of that movie. So yeah,
That's
loved
it.
it.
The Wolf of Futsal. Paula Ferreira Lobo from ZeroZero.pt and one of the contributing members of the 5x4 Futsal podcast. Portugal winning gold for the second consecutive Euro on top of their World Cup. On behalf of everyone at Inside Futsal, this was the first series that we did. It's only going to get better. I promise the design is coming. I am the worst tech person in history, but I promised every one of my amazing guests, who I thank personally and deeply. They're now my friends, not just guests, people whom I value and I support every step of the way, for taking their sweet and valuable time, to help, share and grow the love of the sport that everyone loves, and hopefully just makes it a worldwide phenomenon. So as we say in Portuguese, muito obrigado. And we say in English, thank you very much. I'm learning a little bit. George Braz, I'm coming for that. That Portuguese title in 2024. Check her out on Twitter, on Instagram, all the other places she's at, and make sure, again, ZeroZero.pt and the 5x4 podcast. But for now, after $1:15 on the clock, Inside Futsal, episode 11, the Wolf of Futsal, Paula Ferreira Lobo. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
You have a good night out in Portugal, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.